Hey Sandra, are you there? I just wanted to let you know that I'm gonna have to work a bit of overtime today.
Oh, really? That's kind of weird, isn't it? You almost never have to work overtime, Jerry.
Well, the truth is that this morning my mom called my office. Like, she called me while I was at work.
Really? I thought you told her to try and just text you while you were at work and not to go through the work phones. Do you think she just forgot or that she did this on purpose?
I think it was on purpose. But honestly, I really just can't believe that woman sometimes.
And let me guess, she was calling to demand that we move in with her again. Is that right?
You guessed it, right on the money. I really thought it must have been some kind of emergency for her to go and do that, but she was just being persistent.
Well, it's probably because she knows you'll just ignore her if she tries to call you on your phone.
I think you're probably right about that. But we've already talked about this over and over, and she doesn't seem to get it. And now, for her to keep ignoring the answers that we've given to her and insist on calling me at work is just too much. I mean, she was yelling at me over the phone for 2 whole hours. Can you believe that?
Your mom really talked to you about us moving in with her for 2 hours? Wow. I can't even imagine having to do that.
Well, anyways, I was so busy dealing with her that I wasn't able to get any work done, and that's why I'm going to be coming home a little late.
I see. Wow. I'm really sorry to hear about that, Jerry. That sounds like no fun at all.
I know, right? And then after I was finished talking to her, I just felt completely drained and I needed to use an hour of my time off just to go on a long walk.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to rest at least a little bit after having to deal with her.
You know, I was looking up how to deal with a persistent mom online, and apparently the kind of person she is usually called an energy vampire.
And what exactly does that entail? I mean, what even is an energy vampire?
Basically, what they do is they refuse to take no for an answer. They just refuse to believe that they can be wrong, and so will go on and on arguing until they get their way. So basically, it's pretty much exactly as it sounds like. They feed off of you pushing back against them until you have no more energy to fight, and just give up due to exhaustion.
Ah, well, that makes sense. I think I know a couple people like that myself. Of course, I can typically just avoid spending time with them. It would be different if I was related to them, though.
I mean, really. My mom just does whatever she wants with no regard for anyone else. And she's always loved my brother more than me. You know, she asked him about living together first, but when he said no, she didn't fight at all. Instead, she just turned around and started insisting that we all live together.
And that really is rough. I mean, I still remember when we got married. I don't think your mom gave us anything. But I remember when your brother George got married, your mom practically showered him in presents. I've always wondered how your mom can act that way when she should be treating you both equally. It just isn't fair.
Yeah, well, it's because to my mom, George is everything that a good son should be. He graduated from a good school and is working a high-paying job. She brags about him to anyone who will listen to her.
And that's what I mean. That isn't fair for her to compare you to someone you're not. She should love you for you.
Well, I really wish that that were the case, but I can't see any progress being made on that front until we're all living together. Which won't be happening, of course, but still.
No, you're right. I'm completely with you on this. I mean, I don't think your mom has really kept up with it at all since we got married. Ever since we did, she's just been keeping her distance and acting so coldly towards us. But after hearing about the horrible way that she treated you growing up, I just really don't think I could live with someone like her.
Well, don't you worry about that. We are never ever going to live together with my mom, okay?
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Jerry. But I am really sorry that she had to pull that stunt on you today while you were at work.
Yeah, but I told her that she was never ever allowed to call me at work again. Of course, I doubt that she'll listen to me. But I'll just try responding to her with the bare minimum needed to keep her from getting mad at me.
I really hope that works, Jerry. But just please don't push yourself too much with all of this, okay? And just know that if you want, I'll be more than happy to talk to your mom and tell her to back off.
You don't need to go and do that for me, Sandra. This is really more of an issue between my mom and I. I really don't want to get you sucked into this too.
Well, okay, if you're sure about that. But how about I cook you something special for dinner tonight? That way you can start to recover all the energy that your mom drained from you earlier today.
Now that is a plan that I can get behind. I just hope that this overtime goes by really quickly.
Me too, Jerry, for both of our sakes. But good luck at work. You got this.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a good day at work too, Sandra.
Sandra, are you there? I wonder if I might be able to have a word with you quickly. Hello, Tiffany. Yes, of course we can talk. What seems to be the matter? Before we get into that, I just want to ask you if you already know what this might be about. I'm sure that Jerry has said something to you, no? I suppose that means you're talking about moving in with us again, right? Of course that's what I'm here to talk to you about. Honestly, how dare you even pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about here? Well, I had just heard that Jerry already told you that it wasn't something that was going to happen. So I thought you might have to come talk to me about something else instead. Oh, I know what Jerry said to me, but this conversation is still so far from being over. Great. Well then, what is it that you'd like to talk about regarding that? Sandra, you need to tell my son that we're going to live together. Convince him for me. Sorry, you want me to convince Jerry to let you live with us? Am I getting that right? Of course! I mean, you two are probably thinking about having kids soon, right? Don't you think it would be a good idea to have someone like me at home then? You mean because both Jerry and I are going to continue working, you think you could be at home to take care of our children? Wait a second. You were thinking of working even after you have kids? Are you serious? That's absurd. I mean, I'm not going to back to work right away. I'll rest a bit. But yes, I was thinking of keeping my job. Isn't that what you were getting at anyways with your suggestion? Don't you feel bad for how your child is going to end up if you do that? I mean, you'd be leaving your child in someone else's hands just for money? You're basically saying that you don't even want to be a mother. Look, Tiffany, I'm pretty confused by all of this, but I don't know what my plans for the future are exactly. But for now, I want to continue working so that I can help support my family. Do you even make that much money? I mean, what would even be the point of that? What about this then? What if you two just move in with me? Think about it. You wouldn't have to pay any kind of rent at all, and I could ask a friend to help you find some kind of part-time work. Then you would be able to work and take care of your kid at the same time. And when you were at work, I'd be able to look after them too. Actually, this is way better than me moving in with you. This is a great idea. Tiffany, please, we've talked about this, and both Jerry and I have told you that we want to keep working. The fact is that living together just isn't going to work. Besides, if we did go and move in with you, then that would mean that Jerry's commute would be something like 4 hours in total. You surely can't think that that's realistic to expect him to drive that much, right? Well, he would just quit his job when he comes here, of course. After all, didn't you know that I have some farmland out here? And besides, I need a son to take over the land so they can inherit it from me when I die. Wait a second. I thought that when your husband died, he said that he'd like his land to be worked by any of his relatives, but that it didn't really matter who. Well, sure. But if my son comes to live with me, then obviously that's a different story, right? Well, I thought that you were where you wanted to live with your eldest son, George, anyways, right? So why don't you go and talk to George and see if he wants to take over the family farm instead? Oh, I couldn't do something like that. After all, George has a good job at a really good company. What would be the point of making him toil like a farmer? It's Jerry who has never really been able to accomplish anything in his life at all. So I don't really see the point in him quitting to work the land. I really don't think that you're being too fair to your children at all. In fact, I didn't think we'd be having this conversation like this, but it's obvious that you care about George more than Jerry. Why do you treat Jerry and I like we're worse than your other son and his wife? Well, it's because George is amazing and Jerry is just, well, he's just normal. Besides, I raised those children from when they were born, so if I want them to do something for me now, they don't have a right to say no. And as for you, Your job is to listen to your mother-in-law and agree with whatever she says. Okay, Tiffany. I'm busy working right now, so I'm going to go, okay? You know something, Sandra? This is why I don't like you. You're nothing but a spoiled city girl. Here I am offering a free house and a job on the farm. But I suppose that you're just too good for that, aren't you? Girls like you really make me mad. Well, if that's the case, then it sounds to me like it's a good thing that you and I aren't going to live together. And to think that Jerry used to be such an obedient boy. It's all your fault. He's changed ever since getting together with you. Well, I think that's good. I'm glad that Jerry has learned how to stand up to you. You don't know anything. You're just a spoiled brat who's not worthy to be my daughter-in-law. I mean, you two have been married for 3 years now, and you haven't even had a baby. You should just break up with my son. Well, that is just not going to happen. Jerry and I aren't going to break up, and you need to stop trying to get us to live together. How dare you try and order me, your mother-in-law, around? You really know how to push my buttons, do you know that? I never ever want to see you again. Do you understand me?
Hey, Sandra. I just wanted to let you know that I was going to go to my mom's house after I finished work for the day.
Wait, what? You're going to go to your mom's house after work today?
That's right. I'm going to go to my mom's house after work today to talk to her about living together.
Are you just going to go there all by yourself? Are you really sure that's a good idea?
I just feel so bad for you getting involved in all this stupid family drama of mine. I'm really sorry for what my mom was saying to you the last time the two of you talked to each other.
Oh, that really is okay. I also told her some things that I had had on my mind for quite some time. But I suppose that I might have taken it just a little too far in some areas. I'm really sorry that I was mean to your mom.
But you didn't tell her anything that wasn't correct, Sandra. And I think that you did get across to my mom that you weren't interested at all in living with her. But this time, I'll go talk to her and make sure that she gets the message once and for all. Apparently even my brother is going to be there.
Oh, really? Well, I know that him and I haven't really talked all that much, but I really don't get a good feeling from him. I mean, the last time we saw George and his wife, they were laughing at us when we were talking about the situation with your mom.
Yeah, well, I guess no one can say that those two don't deserve each other, but it's very true that my mom spoiled George while we were growing up. And I think that's the reason why I kind of have a bit of a superiority complex around other people. Of course, it doesn't help that he's actually managed to make something of his life too.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if it's really a good idea for you to go to your mom's house alone. I mean, it's not like your brother is going there to tell your mom he wants to live with her. He's just going to be there to take your mom's side and put you down.
I have no doubt about it. But if things go bad, then I'm going to tell them both that I never want to see them again.
Are you really sure about this, Jerry? That's a big step, don't you think?
I thought that you wouldn't understand this, but it's been something that I've been thinking of doing for a long time now.
I see. Well, okay then. If that's the case, I want you to know that I'll always have your back in this.
Thank you so much, Sandra. As long as we can be together, that's all I want.
That's all I want as well, Jerry. No matter what happens, that's it. And good luck talking to your mom and brother today, okay? Sandra, I'm so sorry for not getting back to you sooner. You must have been so freaked out when I just said I was going to my mom's and then never said anything else. What? What are you talking about? I mean about how I went to my mom's house to talk about her living together and stuff like that, right? Right. What about it? Well, anyways, I was finally able to see the error in my ways and how wrong I've been this whole time. What in the world are you going on about now, Jerry? I suppose I can't really blame you for being surprised about this, but I've really come to realize that family is the most important thing to me, and I can't turn my back on it. So that's why I'm not going to be going home, and I'll be wanting a divorce. I'll send the paperwork to you in the mail. Just sign it and send it to the courthouse for me, okay? No, seriously. Who even are you right now? My husband is sitting right here next to me. Sandra, what do you mean? It's me, Jerry. I'm the one messaging you right now. Wait a second. This is just Tiffany, isn't it? I really can't believe that you would do something like this. No, it's not. You have to believe me. It really is me. It really isn't, though. I am literally here with Jerry, who came back home a couple of days ago. He told me about how you took his phone from him and tried to lock him in your house to trap him. So there's only one person who would have access to Jerry's phone right now. It's you. Can you please just quit this dumb act already? We really don't mind going to the police and reporting what you've done. Wait a second. The police? You can't be serious about that, right? That's taking things way too far. Haha, I knew it. I knew it was you, Tiffany. No, you're wrong. Well, okay, you're not wrong. But I'm only trying to represent Jerry's best interest here. Oh, really? Then why don't you try telling me what Jerry came back home to me then? You don't understand. He already agreed that we would live together. You don't get to have a say in this at all. He is my son, and what I say goes. Maybe you might be able to speak up if you'd give me a kid already, but you haven't. Is that really what you dislike me so much? Because we haven't had any kids? It's the least you could do. I mean, Jerry's brother is amazing and talented and has a great job. Compared to him, Jerry has nothing going on for himself. He's completely average. And just what is so wrong with being average? But more than that, what has George and his wife ever actually done for you? Of course he has given you plenty to brag about to others, but aside from that, what has he really done? I mean, when your late husband was in the hospital, it was Jerry and I who pulled our money together to help you pay for his bills. Not only that, but even before that, when you two had that big anniversary, we were the ones who paid for the trip. You don't get it. George is the better son, and the proof of that is in the fact that he's too busy to work to do any of that. Well, if you think he's really all that great, then it sounds like he's the one you should be living with. It's clear that you only think of Jerry and I as tools at your disposal, and we're not going to stand for that. How can you tell me something like that when I raised my child ever since he was born? Have you ever told George that to try and get something out of him? Do you really think that doing the bare minimum that a mother should give you control over your children? You only ever talk to us when you need something, and even then, you have to do it in the rudest way possible. We would never ever live with someone like you. I mean, you harassed your own son at work by keeping him on the phone for hours. If you don't leave my husband and I alone, we will call the police and I will sue you. So if that's what you want, then keep this up. You mean that you would really call the police and sue a member of your own family? I don't think that Jerry would stand for that one bit. Okay then, why don't you test that theory of yours then, huh? Because we've told you what's going to happen if you do. As of now, Jerry and I never want anything to do with you or the rest of your family again. You mean you're going to just try and cut me out of your lives? You can't do this to me. Jerry would never go along with this. Actually, it was Jerry's idea to do so. He told me that if you didn't listen to him when he went to talk to you, that's what he would do. But you took things way farther than just not listening to him, didn't you? You tried to imprison him in your own home. And you got Jerry's brother to help you do it too. Do you really think the police aren't going to do anything about this? Please, don't call the police. They don't need to know about any of this. We won't call the police or tell anyone about what you've done as long as you leave us alone. Sandra, you really have to understand something. I have raised my boys from birth. And sure, I said plenty of horrible things to Jerry and I put him down his whole life. But it doesn't mean that I don't love him. And I suppose it's that same love that drove you to try and kidnap your own son, right? The fact is that Jerry and I have been there for you in every way that we were able to. And you only ever spit that kindness back in our faces. If you want to talk to us again, then I recommend finding a good lawyer first, because they're going to be the ones doing most of the talking. How can you do this to me? How can you try to take my own son, my own flesh and blood from me? Don't you know that I carried him inside me for 9 long months? And you made his life very difficult for several times that amount of time. You've had your chance to change, but now it's clear that you never will. As long as you stay away from us, we won't have any problems. After we threatened to sue Tiffany and George if they ever came near Jerry and I again, we never had another problem with either of them. We even made them sign notarized agreements that they would never contact us again. And we made sure to include a clause that if they ever broke their promise, that it would trigger a police complaint form to be filed with the local authorities. Inside that form would be explained how Tiffany and George kidnapped Jerry and locked him inside Tiffany's house. Unfortunately for Tiffany, George was able to escape when her neighbors heard her shouting for help from his room. We talked to some of them, and they agreed to serve as witnesses if we took Tiffany to court. It turns out that Tiffany already had a terrible reputation in the neighborhood for how mean she was. But with this little event, rumors about what she had done again began flying around her neighborhood without us having to do anything. Now I hear that hardly anyone even speaks to Tiffany anymore. Both Jerry and I were rather happy to hear about that turn of events, since we were worried that the truth about Tiffany might never come out. Of course, both of us wanted to report her to the police right away, but we figured that we could get more out of her this way than with the mere fine she might be made to pay by a court. And since Tiffany lost access to us, she began to pester her other son more and more for them to move in with her. One day, George even tried calling our phone to try and complain how it was all our fault that this was happening. But Jerry only needed to remind him of their contract for George to hang up immediately out of fear of being sued. Jerry and I had a really long laugh about that night that had happened. However, we realized that it was only a matter of time before the statute of limitations would render that contract useless. So Jerry and I agreed to pack up our bags and move to another state without telling any of his family. We talked to our companies and managed to find a location that had branches for both our offices, and were able to move there. Now we're happily living in a new home and enjoying out normal, ordinary lives with no crazy family members pestering us all the time. As for Tiffany and George, Jerry and I haven't heard from them since our move, and that is the way that we would like to keep things forever.